In this tutorial, you will learn how to make an amazing foam flower arrangement, the Heirloom Rose. Welcome to Flowerpreneur TV, your go-to place for DIY foam flowers. Learn to build amazing flowers here. So hit the bell, the notification bell, and subscribe. Okay, so what's included in the kit? Let's see. We've got all the foam necessary for petals and leaves, our stems, our easy pressing molds to make all the veiners and molds for our petals and leaves, 2 molds, buds, wires, and floral tape. So let's dive in. So now we are going to start cutting our petals, our heirloom rose petals. So we need 28, not 30, 28. So what I do most of the time is just, so we need to get 7 times 5, because it's kind of easier if you measure like that. 7 times 4, that you can fit 4, 2, 3, 4. So we're just gonna divide this in 7, you know, a little bit like this. So I just kind of do this. I don't know why this foam, I feel it's a little bit heavier than 1.5 millimeter, but that happens a lot, which is not bad. It's just like harder to work with. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So maybe this one is a little bit too thick. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more. Or you can actually divide, so it's 27 inches, and grab your ruler and cut like that. I usually do it like that because I'm like going as fast as possible. But you do need to kind of fit this here, right? You will hold it on the sides because I use like a little griddle on these. You can use your heat gun, whatever, your iron. I mean, I have some people actually do it in the kitchen. I actually tried it once, you know, where I do my pancakes, and it worked perfectly. So I should probably record that. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit more over here, a little bit more over here. Kind of folding it just like that. This one's come out a little bit too big. So we're gonna do this the best you can, so you can actually measure it. I'm a little bit more like, I get aggravated so fast. So I'm just gonna cut the edges. Yeah, this foam came out a little bit thicker. Sometimes they do that. Last one, I'm just gonna cut it here. So you should get your little squares out of your EVA foam inside your kit. Your 28 squares. I'm just gonna go accommodate them over here, make sure they're aligned. Now I'm going to cut on this side. Don't worry about it being equal, because we are going to cut once it's thermoformed. So now that you have that, you're just gonna accommodate them and kind of cut in 4, so I'm just gonna measure it. So we've got 18 inches. I'm gonna cut right at 9, right here. I don't know if you can see, I'm just gonna cut right, make a little mark, and I'm gonna cut right in the middle. And then these go like that. So you're just gonna cut right in the middle. We'll limit 4.5 inches. I'm just gonna mark it right there. 1, 2, 3, 4.5, right there. So don't worry about it being perfect, because this is just kind of leftovers. And I'm having a hard time because this foam is really thick. It's probably 2 millimeters. And you can do it with your X-Acto knife, guys. I mean, there's no point in suffering extra. What you always want to have is be able kind of like to hold it in the edges if you're using a griddle. In my case, I am. I will record this. So you've got your 28 pieces, and these are your petals. So what we want to do now is give them a little, you know, color them up. It's easier to color our pieces of foam, or you can paint it after it is thermoformed. I usually paint it after it's thermoformed with lacquer paint. If I use craft paint, I use it with, do it before. But, you know, it all works. So let's get to that. So now we're gonna start painting. I picked these colors. You can do pink, you can do white. I mean, I'm gonna use pastels now instead of craft glue. So if you're gonna use pastels, I always have a little white. So it's so simple. You're gonna imagine this is gonna go like that. So what I'm gonna do, I want the edges. I'm just gonna put this like that, and then just the bottom like that. Now, when you want pastels, if you wet them a little bit, it'll come out darker. So I want kind of like the bottom dark, just like that. And we're gonna do both sides. So we're just gonna paint the edges, and then we want the base darker. That's as easy as that. That's it. Now you may want to, if you're gonna use it wet, you wanna make it a little bit, you know, give it a little bit of diffumination. You can use a cheesecloth or anything like that. So we're gonna do that, and we're just going to paint the edges and then the base. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of water. Let me take this thing off. So you just want to do that, right? Look at that, how pretty. So that comes out with color. I kind of like it a little bit darker and very clear at the edges. So it's totally up to you. You know, if it's wet, it comes out darker, the oil pastel. So you want to do something like that. Now you may want to do one color first and then the other. It's totally up to you. Just have your, you know, your little Lysol. I always have like Lysol. I'm going to do this color first. Just go for it. All the edges. All the edges. And we're gonna have to do it both sides, so I'm gonna do several and then time lapse it so the video won't be that long. But you can see here, and I'm gonna now put this color. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this. Just so it's darker. And then you can go by and difuminate it and make sure they all look very similar. Now you may want to do just the center, not the edges. Now I don't know if you're having a red kit, you can do red with white on top. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? If you have a production going on for an event or something, well, you do want to match the bridesmaids and the obviously there's a color scheme, which I always have. And so basically we're gonna do this. Now I'm gonna do it on the other side. Make sure when you do the other side, if you make a mistake, don't worry. When you do the other side, make sure you use, you don't get it the other way around. And if you do, don't worry. You can, if it's pastels, even craft, you can kind of clean it up. So that's the wonders about foam. It's kind of like plastic. When I have big productions, I spray polyurethane spray on it, or you can Mod Podge it too afterwards. That helps, the color. So here you go. Now you have it on the other side. And we're gonna continue all this with our 28 pieces, so we can get onto the thermoforming and then assembling, and that's kind of it. It's not that complicated. It's actually very fun to do. So there you go. I'm gonna do the other side. Oh, we have it on both sides. So here we go. We're gonna put this on the side since we finished both sides. So let's continue your coloring, and we are done until the next step. So we're now gonna get we'll start with our leaves. We're gonna get our sheet out of our kit, and we're just going to kind of calculate, right here. And we need to get like 5 of these. So what I mostly do, instead of like measuring, I'm kind of try to go a little bit faster. So I just kind of fold it, make sure I get like 5. Although we need 14, you may want to cut 15 squares. You can get it perfectly out of your sheet. So you got here, and we are going to fold this. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got 5 cuts from here. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to kind of, can you see I can fold? I'm just going to cut through these like, doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to be painting and thermoforming them. So I'm going to do 1. So basically you've got your little squares for your leaf. And this heirloom flower is going to be so pretty. So we just stretch it out, and then we're going to cut it on this side. It's going to be so easy. So now that we have that, we're just going to measure this up. Kind of make sure we have enough space to hold it. You have to get 3 out of here. So you're going to measure them kind of equally. So you got this right here. Is it sort of equal? Yes, it is. So I'm going to cut here and cut here. So the next part we're going to paint. So it's very easy. I have my 2 paints here. I have pastels. You also can do it with craft paint. So I'm going to use a little bit of craft paint. And it's very simple, guys. So I'm going to grab a little bit here, and we're going to put dark in the center. Just going, because this is going to go like that. We're going to put dark in the center, and then we're going to just do a little bit of yellow on the edges because this one is a little bit different. So we do that. So you may want to difuminate it a little bit with the dark towards the outside, kind of like that. So we're going to do another one. We're going to do a little bit of dark right in the center. So I'm using two types of paint. I mostly use lacquer. I will do some videos with my painting station, but this is just, you know, to start off, it's the best way you can start off. And since these are the starter kits, of course, if you're like advanced and you got a big production, well, it's easier to do it on your, actually I may have to record this with the, but just want to show you the two options. So this is just, look at that, how pretty. So this is going to go like that. I want to put a little bit more yellow here. It's too big. A little bit more yellow here. It all depends on your preferences. So we're going to do this for all the squares before we thermoform, and then we are going to thermoform. Hi everyone, this is my little painting station. So we already saw we painted these three, you know, with craft, with pastels. So now we're going to try another little experiment, which is how I paint like big productions. Just wanted to do this little video for the ones that have to do a lot of flowers, although it is a starter kit. But you're just going to go around like that. I just think lacquer paint's better. If you are doing this, this is a little painting station. You do want to wear your mask. So I hope you can see this. So I'm using, I'm going to paint over these. Just wanted to show you how to do it. So, and then the center, we're going to use hunter green from the edge. So I've been asked why I don't use, just going to put a little bit of extra on this one. Even if you get a little drop like that, don't worry, you just spread it out. And I'm going to cover it up. So we're going to turn them around. It's the wonders about lacquer. It's just so fast. So make sure you don't turn them the other way or the upside down, right? So, because they have to be dark on the bottom and light on the other side. So, if you are doing this for the first time, I do recommend you use craft paint, because you will need a painting station. I will record this little painting station I have. So I'm going the other way around. I have this one first. So this is how I can get 300 flowers done. Because it's a little bit faster. So we're going to go now the edges just around. So basically that is it, and then we will thermoform our sheets with our molds and we are done. So we are now going to start thermoforming our painted petals for our Heirloom Rose, and this is actually thicker. And you've got your rose petals. You are not going to believe how easy this is. I have here my heated like little grill. So you're gonna try to put the one, well, see, you don't put this one on the bottom because it moves. Put this side, usually the side that's flat. So you're gonna grab this one. Now, if you do it with your heat gun, you put the foam and you do it with a heat gun. I use it with an iron, or in this case, like a griddle. So you can see I'm warming this up. Make sure it's all warmed up, and then you just press it. Make sure you get whatever color you want it on the bottom, and you make sure you press the middle part. The bigger the mold is, and there you go. Look at that, how beautiful. So you're just gonna cut off your petal, and we're gonna do a second one. And if your foam was cut a little short, you just stretch out the foam and put it on top. So I'm just gonna hold it over here, warming it up, and press it. Make sure you have these two little things together when you press. And there you go. Look at that, gorgeous. Now I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna cut them out. I'm gonna cut this one out, just so you can see how the petal looks. So you're just gonna cut through the line, right? The best you can. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like me, in some cases, I like to warm up the edges and stretch them out. Depends on the type of flower I'm building. Look at that. So your perfect petal. Now I may want to put some mica powder over this, but it just looks gorgeous. Like, I'm not gonna do this with all the roses. I'm actually not gonna do it. But see, if you want it more twisted, you just put a little bit of heat, like on the little point here, and I'm gonna stretch it down. If you want it more stretched. I like it the way it is. So I'm just gonna use the second one, and we're just gonna thermoform and cut out our petals so we can go to the assembling line. So you thermoform, make sure you don't burn yourself, be careful. You can also heat it with your styler, you know, and just heat up your foam, and you press. Make sure you press the center. And here you go. Second one. It is so easy, and I think I didn't paint this side. So just heating it up, and boom. Look at that. You can see the veins. It's just a beautiful piece. Now you're gonna have to calculate your heat, not too much. Careful with your fingers if you're gonna use this approach. I think I have my grill a little bit too hot, 400 degrees, so. And look at this. Look at that gorgeousness. Can you see? So we're gonna continue them all. Make sure always you have this aligned. You have your two little like guides. So I'm gonna hold it this way, means I'm gonna put it that way. And there it goes, gorgeous. I'm just gonna cut one more so I can fast forward the rest of it. And then there's another thing you can do that you have a big production that you have to make like hundreds of flowers. I usually do want some, you know, when I don't use these ones. These are more luxury when it's petal by petal. I use like the other ones. You can grab two together. It's just a little tip and trick. And you cut through them. So you can go kind of faster. Make sure they're exactly at the same part because they will match perfectly. So, look at that. It's coming out so pretty. So I cut two together. And I did not paint this area. So I will paint it in a second. But look at that. Even if you leave it like that, it's gorgeous. Whichever style you want to have, or the dark on the outside will also look amazing. So I'm just gonna time lapse this and continue to our next and final step, which is this assembling. So it's pretty simple, easy peasy. So we have painted our squares, and it is very, very simple. You're going to grab this. We have our griddle, iron, hair styler, whichever, and you're just going to hold it like this. If you're using a hairstyle, I'll do another example with a hair styler to see whichever tool you're using. You know, I've even done it in the kitchen, you know, where I do the hot pancakes. It works great. And then you just wash off the paint. So here we go. We're gonna warm this up right here. Make sure you don't burn yourself. Be careful. The foam should become very soft, and you're just going to make sure the center, you want the center to push it in real nice. And here you go. So you got your perfectly thermoformed leaf. So we're gonna do another one. We're gonna grab our little sheet of foam, warm it on our griddle. Make sure you've got the right color on the bottom. It turns really, really soft. Make sure these two little points are with each other, right? Because that's how, you know, it's our indicator to keep our leaf. So look at this one. This one actually marked better than this one, if you can see. If you don't like one, this is the awesomeness of this. You just reheat. I'm gonna do this because I didn't like it that much. So I'm just gonna reheat it. It's gonna lose all its form. I'm just gonna let it turn really soft. I think the griddle wasn't as hot as it should be. And you just hold it until it takes its form. Now I do want to show you that I will have another workshop in the membership of another way to use this one, because this is perfect for a small calla lily. It's just such a beautiful mold. It's actually one of my favorite molds. So we're gonna warm it up again. And you do 3, hold. Look at this beauty, gorgeous. So look at how simple it is. Again, I'm going to do another one. We hold it, we warm it up, and we press it. Look at that gorgeousness. Oh, gorgeous. So we are going to do another one. Don't worry about your griddle, it cleans up. Although the lacquer is a little bit harder to clean up, you do need like mineral spirits or thinner, which I don't like to use because of the smell. But look at this. So let's continue this, and then let me do step number 2. So we are going to cut the edges. We're just going to cut through the edges and keep this little cut. Ooh, I cut a little bit too much there. So I think I'm just gonna cut like this. And you've got your beautiful leaf. And then you just go right there, right there. So we are going to thermoform all our leaves. Just gonna do another one so you can see. Just one more. We heat it. Turns into kind of fabric feeling, very, very soft. So once it cools, you've got your beautiful mold. Then we're just going to cut. Just gonna cut around the edges. And then these little things will guide you. They will guide you. Look at that gorgeousness. Oh, I like cutting from the top. So basically, this is look at that. Gorgeous. And these can work as later as a mini calla lily. It's so gorgeous. So let's finish all of them and we're going to the next step. So now we're gonna go to assembling our flowers from our kit. We have our little buds that came into our kit. So we're gonna divide them in like 3 little bunches for our 3 flowers. So here we go. And we're gonna try to stretch them out, you know, to make sure all the buds are together. It's gonna be so pretty. So right here, we're gonna grab a little piece of our wire from our kit. You don't need that much. And you're just gonna fold them in half. Like, fold them in half. And right here, make sure they're all like kind of even, kind of like that. So we're going to twist our wire, grab your needle nose pliers, and you twist your wire a little bit. Leave this open if you, in case we need, we're gonna grab a little piece of our floral tape, just to keep it secure. You don't need a lot. So you can use your glue gun here, and you just want to kind of, because this little tip will go, and this is going to tie around. You can make a little hole, will go in this little part of your bud. Okay, so these little wires are going to come back out, like open. Let me just finish taping this out. Little dab of glue, and we're going to insert this in right there. Make sure they're like, you know, inserted. The wire has to come out like just wrapping this around, just to make sure it's a little bit in place. You may want to do a little hole on the plastic or through the top. Just make sure it is really nice snuck in there. So I'm going to put a little dab of glue just to make it more glued to the base. And I'm going to wrap these little wires around it just to make it sturdier. You know, they're not going to show. Or you can cut them too, you know, if you feel like, oh no, don't worry, it won't show. Just make sure this is as straight as possible. Can you see? It's kind of wrapped in there. And now it's the exciting part. So this part, you're gonna make like a little taquito. you're gonna make a little fold right from the bottom. You've got these 3 parts. You're gonna fold glue, and then the second time you're gonna fold all through the edge. So that's kind of how it goes. So you folded it twice, all the way through the edges. Now this wraps around here, and we're going to glue. And this is your bud. Look at that gorgeousness. So now we're going to put glue all around this little edge. And I'm going to hold it right here. And I am going to glue it. So you got bud number 1. You put your glue all around, make sure it is like folded right there. And you have your beautiful bud. Now you can put it or up and down however you want your buds to come out. A lot or a little. I like them a little bit in there. So I'm just going to put a little extra dab of glue here. And there we go. Look at that gorgeousness. So now let's do bud number 2. Let's do the 3 buds first, because there's 3 sizes. So you know 1, 2, and 3. This flower is in layers of 3s. So I'm gonna cut another little piece. Oh, I cut it too short. A little bit long. Although it doesn't have to be that long. You don't have to wrap it around because it's pretty much glued in the little thing. Like a little flower holder. So you do this. Right here, we're going to cut a little piece of tape, and we are going to wrap this as strong as we can. Remember, this will go inside our little concave opening, or let's see, these little wires make a little hole. Now I'm going to open them up here to the upside. Insert this right here as strongly as I can, and then wrap these wires around. Or I am going to cut them because they're giving me like a hard time. So I'm just going to glue this little thing in there. Little thing in there is giving me a hard time, but there we go. So here we go. We've got our little, and it's pretty much glued in there. Put a little dab of glue, close it up, make sure it's holding in there. I'm actually gonna do the next one. So we're gonna grab our little buds all together, make sure they're kind of aligned, and this one's way out there. Oh, this one came double. And it is going to be so pretty. So you can see this bud 1. This one's kind of short here. Oh, found it. Okay, so we got the 3rd one. We cut another little piece of our wire. We wrap it in there, halfway through. We fold them up. These are a little bit short, so I'm going to pull them out. So we got all our little buds. Look at that, how cute. cut a little bit longer here. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to, I forgot to twist these at the very bottom. So you want to make sure this is really twisted so they're very tight. And I think I'm going to cut them again, like in the previous one. Cut this again and insert it in here. You know, that little thing is gonna bother you. It's a little bit bothersome, but it works for other stuff, so. Oh, I forgot to put glue. Ooh, okay. Let me put glue in there. So I'm just gonna insert it in there. So there you go. It's inserted and you got it right on here. So now we're gonna do the same thing with these two. We're gonna do a bud. We're gonna do a little line here. You're gonna make one little fold. And then second fold, make sure it's from edge to edge. From edge to edge, and it's folded. You put a little bit of extra glue in. Glue's not coming out right there. So once you have this for your bud, you're going to wrap it, put glue, and wrap it hard. And there's your bud. So here I go. Gonna wrap it pretty good, completely from one side to the other. So you can see your bud and hold it really tight here, so make sure it glues. There's bud number 2. So we got our 2 little buds. And then we're gonna do it on the third one. And we're gonna do another little line again. And then once this is properly glued, we're gonna wrap it around the pistils. I'm gonna put a little bit of extra glue in there. And I'm going to glue this. And wrap it around those pistils. Look at that gorgeousness. So you make one wrap, stretch it pretty well, and make the second wrap. You got bud number 3. So you've got your 3 buds all ready to go. So now that we have our 3 buds, so it's basically part of the first bud, because every layer, this is a 3-layer bud. So it's 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna glue this to our bud. So we got this. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue over here. Oh, glue's not coming out. Goodness. So, you know, you don't have these problems with the glue gun, but I used glue gun in this one too. So the 369 glue. Oh boy, did not go straight. So we're gonna put a little thing and wrap this little one around the bottom and to the sides. Kind of like that. And you a little bit more glue on each side. So this bud here is a little bit more closed, right? You're gonna do the same to the other side. And you've got your little cute little bud. Like two little ears. So you've got, this one's a little bit more open. So you got this right here. Let me close it up a little bit more here. Make sure it glues. And now we're gonna go, let me glue back here. So now we wait for it to glue, and we're going to glue. Okay, make sure it's as straight as possible. We're gonna do bud number 2. So I'm just gonna, you know, because I know exactly where it goes, right in front, to the sides, close it up. This one, on this side, and we close it up. A little bit extra here. You see how pretty it looks? Gorgeous. Is it glued? Yes. It's straight? Yes. So we're gonna do our third one. Just didn't cut it properly here. So I'm just gonna give it a little extra cut there. So I'm gonna put the glue on this part, on the bottom, and close it up right in front. And then the other one. And you close it up. And you've got your three-layer buds. So this heirloom flower is a little bit different. Heirloom rose is a little bit different than your typical rose that just wraps and wraps around. I mean, it does wrap around, but it's got like a little open bud. So it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I don't know which one I like the best, really. So now that we have our 3 buds, we're going to make second layer of them all. So I have here, so this helps me out a lot. You're gonna want to do 3 for the second layer, right? This over this one, this over this one, but you want it to be a little bit closed up. So what I'm gonna do is from here to here, I am going to glue it a little bit more close. So that means, because it's got to right there, and it's got to be right at the edge. This one is glued over this one, and this one is going to be glued over this one. So you got 3 here, right there. So here, when you close it up and you put it in, you're gonna glue it like this. You may wanna glue it a little bit more. This is the first one. So the smallest one is just kind of like an open rose right there. So you're gonna want to insert this in here before you glue it, you know, and you gotta make sure, and here is very important, that it's like, you see right here in the middle of these two, you get one of the basic ones right there. And then you're just going to make this glue over this one. And there's your first part of the rose. So I may want to close it up a little bit more because I left it a little bit too open. So I'm just gonna put a little bit extra glue. I want it a little bit more like budsy, so I'm gonna push it like this inside. Right here, I'm gonna kind of do the same thing, push it towards the inside and glue it. Like the little closed petals. And now this last part, you're gonna do the same thing, glue it towards this before you glue it to this. So this one's over this one, okay, this one's. So now you have these three glued. We are going to glue this, these three, to the top one. You may want to push it a little bit down so it doesn't look so much smaller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut a little bit here so you can push it down, and the bottom, I need my little craft scissors. These are very big. That's if I personally don't like the, you know, here we go, we got it. And then we need this one right in the middle. And you've got your rose. You've got your heirloom rose, and this is a complicated one. So I'm gonna glue it right there. So there we go. A little extra glue. I did them a little bit too open. I wanted them a little bit more close, but it'll have to do. So you got your bud flower. Now we're gonna do another layer of 3. So we're gonna do the same thing, but now since it didn't come out as closed as I wanted, I'm gonna close it in all the way from here to here. Actually, this is like, so you can decide which way you like it better, right? You're gonna close it from here to here. You're gonna have it pretty well closed. And then you're gonna do the same thing from here to here. So we're gonna from here to here. Now I am leaving some space down here, so when you close this one up, you see how it's gonna be a little bit more closed? You can push it out when you put it in through here. Okay, so before we glue it, we're gonna check that, make sure the bottom part, like this glues basically on part of the flower back here. Can you see? Instead of under it right here, we want it a little bit more here, because I want this a little bit more closed for the next flowers. So we want right there. And now we're gonna right there, and we're gonna push this to close a little bit harder. Maybe I closed it too much, but it looks gorgeous. Or I'm just gonna leave it down here. This has got to go. So we're gonna glue this again. Well, before we glue it, let's put it in here in the right place. Right there. So I'm just gonna glue it here. got our little bud here. Now this one, I think I'm going to open it a little bit more. The others are too closed. This one's almost in back of this one, so. I guess I closed it too much, so I'm going to open it. I'm going to, if you need to put a little bit of glue outer here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so now let's put some glue in here. Awesome, awesome. This is what I want. So I'm going to put some glue in here. Make sure when you glue it, you got it like at the right place you want it. There we go. That's exactly how I want it. And you can see, so you got your heirloom flower. And we're gonna go on the third one. Same again. I'm not gonna glue it all the way here. I'm gonna glue it like halfway. Almost the same, but not the same. Halfway. And now we're going to grab our third bud, put it right there, right here in the middle, and glue it right there. See, third's a charm, guys. Third's a charm. So this one goes over this one glues here, and this one glues over here. And then we're just gonna press it so, because I'm already gluing it to the top flower. And there we go. So we got 3 of these. So I'm gonna choose this one to continue with the other ones. I want one of these. I want this one as the bud. So now that we have this one, I'm going to try to fix this little thing there. There we go. That's better. So if you have your heat gun, you can always put a little bit of heat on your foam, although so the silicone will let loose. And now that we have this little thing on the back, we're going to glue 3 on one side only. You're just going to put a little dab and a little bit further down. So you need to make sure that your flower is held in place, like glued to the previous one, right? So it won't be moving around. So you've got yours. And this one is going to go right between these two, but a little bit more out. It's got to come and touch the bottom part. So you're going to glue a third one here. Just put a little dab right in the middle. Right in the middle. You don't want to glue the sides yet, because you're going to have to wrap one over the other. So you see how this one's touching down there? Now this one I didn't paint the other side. It's not going to even show. So this one right here between these two, you're going to put your little dab of glue. Afterwards you will glue the sides, and I want it right there so it hits the bottom. It hits the table. You want it kind of like flush. like the third one, here, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna glue right in the middle. And you want this one flush right here. You see, can you see? So now that it's, you see how this one is a little bit twisted to the side? I don't know if you see there's more space here than here. So see, that's why you've got to glue just the base, the first part, and then stretch it this way. Okay, so we're going to glue here and stretch it this way. Make sure they're like evenly over the previous layer. There we go. Just need to pull the glue. Now we're gonna glue this side. And we're going to glue this side too. Make sure it's very, very solid to the previous layer, because that's what kind of gives it the structure for it to hold, because it's a very big flower. It's, these heirloom flowers are like big. Heirloom roses are pretty big. Man, I think my little jar is broken here. See, look at that, how pretty. I'm just gonna put a little bit on this side too. And you've got, look at that gorgeousness. It's gorgeous. I just need to close this up a little bit more. I think I'm going to glue here. I'm going to put a little bit, this is a little bit too open. So I'm putting a little bit of glue here so I can kind of hook it to the bud. This is the first one that we left a little bit too open, remember? Did it glue? Oh yeah. It's glued all right. So then I want to glue here this layer to make sure it holds together. So I'm going to put a little dab of glue in here. It's like when we make the giant roses that they flap around. You want to make sure that your flower is sturdy, especially if it's going to go for an event. You know. Here I didn't cut it properly. Look at that gorgeousness. Gorgeous. So you've got 1, medium, and then we're gonna do 3, and at the end this one has 4. So we're gonna do the same thing. Write this one here, make sure it touches the bottom. So this one goes like way down here. Let me see how this one goes. And we're going to glue this right here, right in the middle of it. And it's touching the bottom. And then before we glue the sides, we need this one right in the middle of these two. Make sure it touches the bottom. Right here. So you see this is on the table. And that's how they become ginormous. You know, and all these things are covered with the sepal.
And the sepal makes it really sturdy. So this one's too tall. I need it to go all the way down here. And now we're going to glue the sides. I'm going to pick this up and put glue on the sides and glue it down. Make sure it is touching the bottom. Now we go on this side that fell off, and we are going to, and my glue is spraying and has a hole. I think it's that little hole that I did with the needle. And that is not good because it's going to leave things on my mat. So look at that. It is so gorgeous. Now here you're gonna, it's kind of moving, so that kind of aggravates me. You see that little thing? You do not want that. So we're going to have to make this little thing right here. And make sure it is pushed way. So we hold it from here. I'm gonna kind of push it like that. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. You were aggravating me, Flowey. Don't do that. And I'm going to do that right here too. You want it as sturdy as possible. So that means petals have to be glued with each petal. Then the last part, you're going to put your little, have it here, and we are going to, look at that, how gorgeous. We are going to do 4. So this one has 4. 1. You don't want it perfectly aligned, so it's got to be kind of like nonchalant. 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4. So these, you do want them as straight as possible. I got them like right there. Can you see how there are the 4 of them? So I'm just like, while I hold them and they all touch the table, I am going to put glue on each. So I'm gonna, with the little splatter my glue has. So we're gonna hold it for it to glue. Now this one is on this other side, and oh, that's a bad cut. No wonder I could not find it. This one is right over this one, but not exactly. And it's right there. So I'm going to glue it, and it's touching the bottom. So I'm just going to, oh boy. That's the bad thing about the craft glue. It's so fast. And then I'm going to glue this little edge. On this side right here. Make sure it's touching the bottom. And you're going to hold it. This one unglued. And then you've got your last little piece. All right. Ooh. Yeah. Oh my God, it's sprayed all over. I'm gonna have to clean that because it's gonna make a bad thing on my mat. So look at that. And this is the big one. Gorgeous. So you've got your 3 flowers. We just need to structure them with the sepal. You've got your bud, your medium, and your large heirloom roses. So we now have our leaves and thermoform, and we are just going to glue to our top flower. And it's just going to be 2 of them. We're just going to close them up like this. Make sure you grab part of the foam, and we are going to glue. This is a very simple part. So we're just going to, because the sepals and the leaves are exactly the same. So we're just going to cover it up on one side. This is a small one because the others require three sepals. And we're going to glue on this other side. A little bit too much glue because my glue is a little bit open, so we're just going to do this right here. Make sure it is covering and holding our little stem. And look at that, how it's gorgeous. So we got one. We're gonna make 2, 3. We're gonna do 3 here. This is the bigger one. You want to obviously cover the places, so we're gonna do 1. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue, and we're just going to cover, grab a little piece of the stem, make sure we are covering this part. You know, like right here where you see the unions, you want to cover that up. You want it to go right there. So we're going to glue this other one. It's easy peasy. And then we're going to glue the third one. So we have 3 here. Then we're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I got, now for the big one, look at that, how pretty. Look at that gorgeousness. So this is our heirloom rose. And here we are going to do the same thing, covering up all our little pieces. And it's just kind of like a frame. This one is a little bit, the heirloom rose is a little bit different. So I'm just going to calculate the 3 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see how pretty that is? So I'm just going to glue this one. Right there. It's gorgeousness. I want to glue this one to this one, so you're gonna just have to pick it up a little bit here and glue this one. Make sure you're holding a little bit of that part right here, because this will give it structure. Look at this gorgeousness. It is gorgeous. So the leaves are going to be just so easy. We're going to grab a little piece of your wire, and it's going to be so easy. You're going to be like, what? And we're just going to, I'm not even going to cut them, because you will cut right at the edge. You just want it to bend a little bit. I'm going to do one flower, and then you're just going to finish them. And it is so easy. We cut this off, because this is going to go directly to the stump. You don't want, you may want to do it a different way. And from your leftover pieces, you're just going to cut a little tiny little square, like with rounded off, little, kind of something like this. What, that was a little bit too thin. You see something like this. Let me see that so you can see better. It's a tiny little thing. So what are you going to do? So it's very simple. You are going to glue this here. Let me cut it right at the very, very edge. We don't want that little piece coming out. And you're just going to glue here. You know how those flowers, and you're going to cover it up. That's about it. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue. And I'm going to cover it up with my little piece of foam. Kind of like, you know, when you buy artificial flowers, it has this little thing. It's a little bit, I think I did it a little bit too big. I guess the other one was small enough. And then you just do this. And look at that. Now you may want to, there is still floral tape on your, you may want to do it a little bit different, leave a little bit of wire and, you know, wrap it around here. I personally like it a little bit more like that. It's a little bit more, I don't know, the Floribunda rose does have, because it's got 3 leaves, but this one is just kind of, the Heirloom Rose is a little bit more kind of discreet, kind of like, I say kind of elegant. The Heirloom Rose. So I'm just gonna do it like that. I'm gonna grab a little tiny little piece of this. Just enough to cover your wire and your little stump, which is not too much. Now maybe I left it too small. So you're gonna grab your, you know, the long one, and you're just going to glue it right there. And we're going to put a little dab of glue, and we're going to cover it up. And it's just gonna go like that. Make sure it glues properly. And look at this gorgeousness. Oh, gorgeous. So here is your rose, and now we're going to do the same with the other 2 flowers, and congratulations. You have now finished your Heirloom Rose.